The noise around Glasgow has barely settled, and already this derby feels like one of those moments that people will be talking about for a long time, not just because of the scoreline, but because of everything it revealed about where Rangers are right now and where their biggest rivals find themselves drifting coming into the match. There was tension in the air, a sense that this was more than just another league fixture, and what unfolded over 90 minutes only amplified that feeling. Rangers did not simply win the game, they imposed themselves in a way that sent a clear message across the city and beyond. And the 3-1 scoreline only tells part of that story. The opening stages were not straightforward. Celtic had periods where they looked comfortable on the ball, moving it with confidence and forcing Rangers to chase and adjust. There were moments where Rangers appeared caught between pressing high and protecting their shape, and that indecision allowed Celtic to find pockets of space. Going into the break behind by a single goal felt frustrating, but it also felt manageable because there was a sense that the match was still there to be taken. What mattered most was how Rangers would respond, and that response after the interval defined the entire afternoon. From the first whistle of the second half, there was a visible shift in tempo and intent. Rangers pressed higher, closed spaces quicker, and most importantly, played forward with purpose as soon as possession was regained. The equalizer did not arrive by accident. It came from belief and aggression, from players willing to commit bodies into the box and trust that chances would come. Once that first goal went in, the atmosphere changed instantly. The crowd felt it, the players felt it, and Celtic felt it too. As Rangers grew into the game, the structure looked sharper and the movements more coordinated. The midfield battle, which had been tilted earlier, began to swing. Second balls were being won, challenges were being completed, and suddenly Celtic were the side struggling to cope with the rhythm. The second goal was the turning point, not just on the scoreboard, but psychologically. It was the moment where Rangers stopped chasing the game and started controlling it, dictating where the ball went and how fast the match was played. By the time the third goal hit the net, there was a sense of inevitability about it. Celtic looked rattled, unsure of how to stem the tide, while Rangers played with clarity and confidence. The defensive line held firm, transitions were quicker, and every clearance or interception seemed to fuel the next wave of pressure. What stood out most was the collective effort, the way players covered for each other, communicated, and stayed switched on until the final whistle. Away from the derby drama itself, there has also been movement behind the scenes that says a lot about how Rangers are managing the wider picture. Young players continue to be given pathways to develop, with loan arrangements designed to give them meaningful minutes and responsibility. Sending a forward back out to a familiar environment where he has already shown he can contribute is not about writing him off. It is about placing him in a situation where confidence and sharpness can be rebuilt. At the same time, extending another young winger's stay after consistent performances shows that progress is being rewarded. Goals, assists, and influence in the final third matter, and those opportunities at senior level can shape careers. The contrast between the two clubs after the final whistle was striking. While Rangers were talking about reactions, solutions, and improvement, there was visible frustration elsewhere. When players begin openly discussing issues around tactical adjustments and in-game responses, it highlights deeper questions about cohesion and clarity. Football is unforgiving at this level, and derby defeats magnify every flaw. For Rangers, that scrutiny currently feels like fuel. For Celtic, it feels like pressure building from all sides. What cannot be ignored is how this result reshapes the league narrative, closing the gap, drawing level on points, and keeping pace with the leaders injects belief into the title race. It reminds everyone that momentum can shift quickly in this league, especially when confidence starts to build. Rangers have shown resilience and ability to adapt mid-match and a willingness to take responsibility when things are not going to plan. Those traits matter just as much as individual quality over the course of a season. There's also a growing sense that this squad is buying into what is being asked of them. Adjustments in shape, changes in pressing triggers, and a more direct approach after regaining possession all point to a group that is listening and responding. That second half performance was not chaos, it was structured aggression, and that balance is what supporters have been craving. The belief did not come from a single moment, it came from seeing a plan work under pressure. As the dust settles on a dramatic derby, the focus inevitably shifts forward. Big wins are remembered, but they only truly matter if they are backed up with consistency. The challenge now is to take the intensity, organization, and hunger shown in that second half and carry it into the next fixtures. The supporters will travel in hope, encouraged by what they have just witnessed, expecting the same standards and commitment. Rangers have laid down a marker, not just with the scoreline, but with the way they responded when it mattered most. And that response has changed the mood around the club in a very real way. As the conversations around the training ground continue, what stands out is how this victory has reframed the way Rangers are being spoken about across the league. This was not just about passion or emotion. It was about problem solving in real time, about recognizing what was not working and having the courage to change it. That is something supporters notice immediately because it speaks to growth. In previous seasons, there have been matches where setbacks lingered, where conceding first led to frustration rather than clarity. This time felt different, as if the group collectively decided that the narrative of the match was still theirs to write. The shift in the second half was built on small details that often decide big games. Distances between the lines tightened. Pressing became coordinated rather than individual, and when possession was turned over, there was a clear idea of where the first pass needed to go. Instead of recycling the ball aimlessly, Rangers looked to hurt Celtic quickly, forcing them to retreat and defend spaces they were no longer comfortable protecting. That directness does not mean abandoning control. It means understanding when to accelerate the game, and Rangers found that balance when it mattered most. Defensively, there was a calmness that allowed the attacking players to take risks. Fullbacks were supported, centre-halves stepped out with confidence, and the midfield screened intelligently, cutting off lanes before danger fully developed. Even when Celtic tried to slow things down and regain composure, Rangers refused to allow the tempo to drop. Every duel was contested, every loose ball chased, and that relentless edge gradually drained belief from the opposition. By the final stages, the contrast in body language told its own story. This result has also reignited belief among the supporters, not just in terms of silverware, but in terms of identity. Fans want to see a team that reflects their own expectations, one that competes, adapts, and refuses to accept second best. The atmosphere inside the stadium during that second half was not simply loud, it was purposeful, as if the stands and the pitch were moving in the same direction. Those are the moments that build trust between a squad and its fan base, moments where Belief feels shared rather than demanded. Looking deeper into the squad, there is a sense that competition for places is sharpening standards. Players know that performances like this raise the bar, and that maintaining a starting role requires consistency, not reputation. Younger players watching from the sidelines or developing elsewhere will have seen that opportunities are there for those who respond to challenges and deliver when called upon. That creates a healthy tension within the group, one that can drive improvement over the long run. At the same time, there is no illusion that one derby win solves everything. The league is relentless, and every opponent now views Rangers through a slightly different lens. Teams will prepare differently, look to disrupt patterns, and test whether this level of intensity can be sustained. That is the true measure of progress, not how high the peak is, but how stable the platform beneath it becomes. Rangers have given themselves a foundation, but foundations only matter if you continue building. The psychological aspect of this victory should not be underestimated either. Coming back from behind in such a high-pressure fixture reinforces self-belief in a way that comfortable wins cannot. Players learn that they can cope when plans need adjusting, when momentum swings, and when the margin for error is razor-thin. Those lessons stay with a squad, influencing decisions and confidence in future matches where circumstances are far from ideal. As the title race tightens, every point carries weight and every performance is scrutinized. Drawing level and reducing the gap at the top changes the dynamic, creating pressure not just internally but across the table. Rangers now sit in a position where belief is justified, but expectations will rise accordingly. Managing that balance between confidence and focus is the next challenge, one that requires discipline on and off the pitch. What this derby ultimately showed is that Rangers are capable of marrying emotion with intelligence. Passion alone does not win championships, but when it is channeled through organization and adaptability, it becomes a powerful force. The response after the interval was a statement of intent, not a boastful one, but a measured declaration that this team is learning, evolving, and prepared to fight for every inch. With fixtures coming thick and fast, the emphasis now shifts to recovery, preparation, and maintaining standards. Supporters will replay the goals and the moments of dominance, but inside the club, the message will be about repetition, about making this level of performance the norm rather than the exception. The derby has provided momentum, belief, and a renewed sense of direction, and how Rangers carry that forward will define the weeks ahead as the season continues to unfold. Beyond the immediate emotion of the derby, there is a growing discussion about what this performance says regarding Rangers' long-term direction. The match exposed areas that still need refinement, but it also highlighted a level of adaptability that has sometimes been questioned in the past. When the first half did not unfold as planned, there was no panic, no retreat into safety. Instead, there was a clear recognition that solutions were required, and those solutions were applied with conviction. That ability to respond within the game is often what separates teams that compete from teams that truly challenge. One of the most encouraging signs was how quickly Rangers imposed structure after the break. The spaces between defence and midfield closed almost immediately, making it far harder for Celtic to progress through the centre. Passing lanes were anticipated rather than chased, and that anticipation allowed Rangers to regain possession in areas where attacks could be launched instantly. The tempo of those transitions kept Celtic constantly on the back foot, forcing them to defend deeper and abandon the patterns that had served them earlier in the match. in possession, there was a noticeable calm mixed with urgency. Rangers were not rushing for the sake of it, but neither were they content to circulate the ball without purpose. Each phase of play seemed to have a clear intention, whether that was drawing opponents out of position or delivering early into dangerous areas. That clarity gave confidence to players who might otherwise hesitate, and confidence, especially in a derby, can be decisive. The physical aspect of the contest also shifted dramatically. Duels that had been lost in the opening period were suddenly being won, and that change had a cumulative effect. Every successful challenge lifted the crowd and reinforced the sense that Rangers were now dictating the terms. Celtic, by contrast, appeared increasingly frustrated, struggling to regain control as the match slipped away from them. Football at this level is often about momentum, and once Rangers seized it, they refused to let it go. This performance also underlined the importance of collective responsibility. Rather than relying on one or two individuals to turn the tide, Rangers functioned as a unit. Defenders stepped forward when needed, midfielders tracked runners relentlessly, and attackers pressed from the front with intelligence rather than recklessness. That balance between effort and organization is difficult to achieve, but when it comes together, it creates a platform that can withstand pressure. As attention turns to the next stretch of the season, the challenge will be maintaining that standard when the spotlight is less intense. Derby matches naturally bring an edge, but titles are won through consistency on quieter afternoons as much as through dramatic comebacks. Rangers have shown what they are capable of when focus and execution align, and the task now is to replicate those principles week after week. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The blue half of Glasgow woke up buzzing after whispers began to ripple through Scottish football that Rangers have quietly set their sights on a striker many believed was destined for a different path. Inside Ibrox, the name being spoken with growing excitement is Tommy Conway, a forward now being tipped by some as the next great nightmare for Premiership defences. Nothing has been confirmed, of course. Official channels remain silent, and those close to the club are offering little more than knowing smiles. Still, the speculation refuses to die down. Rangers, it is said, see in Conway a blend of raw aggression and intelligent movement that could reshape their attacking identity. The idea of him pulling on royal blue has already captured the imagination of supporters desperate for a new focal point up front. Conway's rise has not gone unnoticed. His sharp bursts into the box, his willingness to press centre-halves, and his knack for unsettling defenders have earned him a reputation as a striker who thrives on chaos. In private conversations around the training ground, there is talk that Rangers believe he is ready for the step up, convinced that the intensity of Ibrox would only sharpen his edge. What adds fuel to the rumour is the belief that Rangers are planning something bold rather than safe. This would not be a marquee name bought for glamour, but a statement of intent rooted in hunger and potential. Some insiders suggest the club views Conway as a project capable of delivering immediate impact, not merely a long-term investment. Across Scotland, rival fans are watching closely, wary of what such a move could mean. And if Rangers do manage to lure Conway, it may signal a shift in strategy, one that prioritizes pace, menace, and relentless pressure. For now, it remains talk, whispers carried through pubs, phone-ins, and back pages. But in Scottish football, rumours have a habit of becoming reality when least expected. Greetings, fans. make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned